Hey everyone, Atia of the Savvy Accountant here. And so today is my day 5 video for my video challenge. And so today I want to talk about a little bit about myself since we're going to be starting a new week, and just tell you kind of a little bit of the journey of how I became a CPA license in both Canada and in the US, and a little bit about my background and what I do and how I help my community when it comes to taxes. And so I'm originally from Montreal, Canada. I am living in the US now. I've been in the US for about 16 years or so. So I got licensed in Canada. So in Canada, the way we have to do the exam, everybody in Canada and the Bahamas, or Bermuda, one of those two, everybody writes their exam the same day. So there's only one time of year to take the exam. It is a 3-day exam to get your CPA license. And you actually have to work in like a firm in auditing for 2 years before you can get your license, and you have to pass this exam that's once a year. So every year in September, you sit for the same 3 days. Everybody across Canada writes the exam in the same 3 days, and then you find out your results in November. So typically what happens is you have like a study group, and you give everybody in your study group, you give them your code so that when everybody logs in on November, you check your study groups so that you know who to reach out to, who not to reach out to if they didn't pass. So essentially we wait 2 months for our results, and that's how we figure out if we passed or not. So I ended up passing my exam on my first try. Everybody in my study group, we passed. And so we go out and celebrate. And literally this night, we call it the UFI exam. So it's the Uniform Final Examination in Canada. So usually on this night, the passing night, all the big 4 firms, they have like these huge parties. Everybody that passes there, all the alumni. So it's like a really big thing. So in Montreal, we went out, we partied that night. I worked at KPMG at the time, and so I did start my career with Big 4. So I worked in KPMG, I worked there for several years, then I went into industry, and I worked at TD Bank, and I worked at Orlando Utility Commission. So I worked at a couple of private public entities before I started my firm. And so I started my firm about 7 years ago, and it's going to be 8 years at the end of the year. So I started my firm about 7 years ago, and I basically started to help people that look like me, mainly because working in the industry for over 15 years, I'm typically one of the only Black women on the team. It has changed in recent years, but that's typically what it was. And so I would start off by helping people in my church with their taxes, with their credit questions and stuff like that. And so that's how the Savvy Accountant came about. I coined the term the Savvy Accountant when I started applying for jobs, when I first started in the industry like 20 years ago. Like my first resume was the Smart and Savvy Accountant. So that's where the Savvy Accountant came from. So then when I started my company, I actually started helping small businesses. I worked a lot with real estate, and so real estate has a space near to my heart. And then I started with tax strategy. So I really started realizing that people that look like me don't understand the tax code, and that's where I wanted to help them save $1 billion in tax savings. And so that came to me in a vision. When I was sleeping, I was on stage and I was being awarded something for saving my community $1 billion in tax savings. And so that's where that goal came from. And that's my big, hairy, audacious goal, is to save my community $1 billion in tax savings. I have saved them close to 10 million since 2021. That's when I first came up with this. So, I haven't gone back to when I first started, but typically I help you save on your taxes by understanding what your situation is, helping you understand the tax code, and figuring out ways that can work for you. And so I do this typically with my small business clients, and in my corporate role, this is what I do now as well. So I'm on the management team, and we help our clients reduce their taxes and figure out kind of what their tax liability is going to be, how we can work with them to reduce it, and all of that good stuff. So yeah, if you guys have tax questions, let me know. This is a longer video than I thought it would be, but yeah, I actually started my career in Montreal, then I moved to the US. I've been here for over 15 years. I got my CPA license here, and this is where I am. So if you guys have questions, let me know. As I stated, I do have a corporate job, but I am always going to be the Savvy Accountant. So I am still here to help my community save on your taxes, understand the tax code, and figure out how you can actually build wealth by understanding taxes better. So if you have any questions, let me know. I'm so sorry this video was like 5 minutes. Bye.